Well, hello everyone to week 10 of season 3 of the Reddit League. And man, we had quite a week indeed in the penultimate week up until this final playoff season almost is about to start. My name is Zotomo, and I am joined as always by Calamity. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good.
Great to have you as always. And we are joined by the man himself, the guy who made it all the way to the finals last season and is in good form to make the playoffs this season. Raidman Mucha, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing fine.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure to have you here. We had Simeon a little bit earlier, but you were in also contention last season for the most improved player of the season. So definitely happy to have you here to join us for this week's show.
Yes,
Well,
I am happy too, and thank you for this prize for me for last season. I didn't expect that to be fair.
No worries. You definitely earned it. And, good luck to you in the weeks to come here. But first, let's see how things went for you all in week 10 in Bolivia here. And yeah, Raidman, a wonderful score, but, Giovanni up there, worthy of the task, unfortunately, for this week, nipping you out by 1 point, but a draw nonetheless.
Yeah, it was almost as third or fourth my perfect draw in the history of Reddit League. I am so annoyed because I rushed out the first round and the perfect score was possible, but of course my overconfidence, like always, didn't paid off this time. And I lost this very important point for me because will be I am always trying to get the best performance what I can,
Mm.
and probably because of that I will lose a chance to win the regular season this time.
Yeah, but if you miss out, I mean, you have kind of been out of that top one or two for a couple weeks, but always in contention up there. So if you manage to make a last second push up to the top, that would be quite impressive. Any other scores stood out to you here, Raidman?
A very important win made by Macaron. I think now he has a chance to not fight for relegation if he win in the last week. Simi decide the same score as me. Magyaron, Simi, and Radu last week's has a very good performances. So there will be a tough fight between them to not be in the relegation spots and relegations playoffs. I think that will be the most important. A little low score from Orpheus. I suppose that if he wants to fight for promotion for real playoffs, he should have scored something like 24-4K. I hope that he will get better in the next week. And Mr. Blue lost with Boxa. Two losses in a row, if I remember correctly. I think he has a guarantee place in the playoffs, but his form, his performance last weeks are not the best.
Yeah, Calamity, anything from you here on the Division One game? A lot of high scores, and also some interesting upsets.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Division 1 seed was also the easiest out of the five, which is quite funny because I think Division 1 has had the easiest seed out of the five quite a lot of times this season. But yeah, as Raymond said, it wasn't actually the last 2 weeks for Mr. Blue, it was two out of the last three. He had one win in there against Giovanni the week before this one. But yeah, he's shown some weakness. But yeah, as we said, he's guaranteed in the promotion spot, so it's not too important for him. But we might well see a repeat of his game against Boxer in the playoffs, so he might want to put in a better performance there. Um, Yeah, as we said, a lot of important wins for people or more towards the bottom here. Magyaron winning very crucial game against Equinox. Also, Simi and Radu winning again and keeping up their good form. And yeah, Kevin Kroner probably the surprise of the week with an upset against Orpheus. You kind of had the expectations, Simi Schludi, Equinox Magyaron. Those were fights more, at the bottom. So one of them has to win. But that win from Kevin was really unexpected. And it definitely puts him in a better position now as well. If he had lost here, he probably would have had a very difficult time to get out of the relegation spots. But at least now he's got a decent chance for the playoffs. And yeah, definitely the match of the week in terms of performances, Raidman against Giovanni. And I think we're probably going to have to call him Giovanni on the on the slides as well next season, because I don't think I've ever said Stymphalics. And as to
Yeah.
not confuse people. But
Yeah, we always say Giovanni, but then like every organizer puts his name as Stymphalics on everything. So
yeah, because it's his Reddit
yeah,
name.
yeah.
But yeah, apart from that, yeah, Raidman mentioned it. Orpheus a bit of a weak performance there, which is not good for him in the standings. But yeah, we'll see what the last week then has to offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, let's take a look at the Division One standings going into the final week, and everybody but Simi and Radu moves around. That perfect game from Giovanni or Stymphalics moves him up into the playoff spots for, I think, the first time this season. Mr. Blue dropping down to third with his loss to rival Boxa, but as Calamity mentioned, his points already good enough to keep him up there. And big wins for Maguron and Kevin Kroner see them move up in to those relegation playoff spots, with Schludi kind of dropping at the expense of that from them, as well as Equinox also dropping down. So yeah, lots of shuffling. Probably the biggest thing here, Calamity, is that there are 3 players all pretty much in contention there for that 4th spot. But also anybody's game also there for those relegation playoff spots.
Yeah, but again, after all the ups and downs we've had over the season, we'll still most likely end up with the top 4 that I predicted after week 3. But it's not done. As you said, Orpheus and Anaglu can still get to 4th place because they do have the better score differential in that case. I think all of them are on 1 perfect game. So that's not going to be the tiebreaker if it would come to that. But they require Giovanni to fail to pick up a point in Kenya. And that's not the most likely scenario. But yeah, even Simi can technically still get into 4th place if he gets a perfect score in Kenya and the other results
4
work out
points
his
is
way.
possible.
But yeah, it's gonna be difficult, especially Kenya is not the most perfect score friendly if you get an unlucky location. It's doable if you get the right locations, but you're never guaranteed it. And quite an interesting fact here as well. If you look at the table for solely the second half of the season, so starting with week 6, you'd find Simi in 1st place ahead of Magyaron, who both have 12 points. So they've had a really good second half to the season, which made sure that they're not right at the bottom anymore. Still fighting against it. Even Simi's not clear of relegation just yet, but definitely in a much better position than they were early on. And also interesting is that we had like a rift between sort of the top half of the table and the bottom half of the table for the longest time, and
Yeah.
that sort of just disappeared over the course of the weeks, and we're now pretty much very close together with everyone here, and there's no person who's completely safe in their position before the last game.
Yeah, definitely. Division One for a bit wasn't looking that competitive, but definitely proves to be over the course of the entire season. Raidman, you're up into 2nd place here. Well done so far. Only 1 more week to go.
Yeah, and maybe after the next week I will finally get my first place like last year. But I want to say one thing. As you can see on the table, this season is really different than the last one. I want to say that now, with most of the season last year, 3 semi-finalists are in the bottom half of the table. I think now this first division is even more competitive than the last season. So it only proves that the level of the players are growing up, and we have a hard job to do to stay in this division. And the other thing is, if I will draw next time with Boxa, I will change my nickname to Joe Manmucha. I don't believe that I have 4 draw in this season. I think I have the most draw in from all of the divisions, if I
Yes.
am not wrong right now. So I am surprised that I'm even in first 4 places with that.
Calamity, is that correct?
Yes,
Mostly.
but the good thing is that, with all the additions of, getting bonus points for top 50% and, the point for a perfect score, it usually means that if you perform well, then a draw is not the worst thing because you'll still pick up a lot of points. And performing well all the time just makes it more likely to draw in Division 1 because, most of the draws that do happen are once we get close to a perfect score. So to me,
Yeah.
having the most draws out of anyone just means you were close to that perfect score quite a lot, and you had strong opponents that also matched that, basically.
Mhm.
In
Yeah.
first division, we have only strong opponents to be fair. So even
Yes.
though 4 draws and the fifth one in a way, it's quite a lot. I think that no one ever gets 5 draws in a whole season.
Yeah.
Actually,
Might
I
have to give
think
you a prize for that one too. So.
that's not that's not completely true. Radu had 5 draws in season 1, actually, but yeah, it is a rare occurrence. And the thing
Yeah.
Okay,
is,
okay.
Radu back then had less matches. Radu got 5 draws in 9 weeks.
Mm. So just
Okay.
over 50%. And if you manage another draw, you'll be just under 50%. So pretty intense indeed. Well, let's shift over to those fixtures in Division One. It's our last week of the regular season. We are in Kenya, and what a map it'll be. So stick around to hear about that. But yes, Raidman, your fate is in your hands. You have Boxa as your matchup this week.
Yes, and I am already after the Kenya seed. I will not make any spoilers about that. But as I said, I expect a draw in this match. Looking how well Boxa played last week's. The other matches which I see interesting will be definitely Simi and Mageron. As you said, they are both have a very good last matches. And who win this match will probably not go to the relegation fights. So it quite be kind of interesting. Uh, Radu and Mr. Blue, we will see how they will perform because Mr. Blue has I think bad weeks, or he doesn't have time to practice a lot, and Radu I think has a good performance from last week's too. So it can be quite interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mr. Blue was on vacation for the last little bit. He said that was no excuse for a bad performance, but definitely now that he's back to kind of his normal schedule, I definitely wouldn't rest on anything for Radu there. He definitely has a big challenge there for him. But yeah, big tasks ahead for the bottom two in Schluti and Equinox Calamity.
Yeah, definitely. They need to hope for dropped points as well in the other matchups, as they don't have it in their own hands anymore in their games against Anaglo and Orpheus. It's definitely possible for them to get a win, but as I said, if everyone else also gets a win down there, then it's pointless at the end. Um, yeah, as Raidman also mentioned, Arado against Mr. Blue is probably the one I expect to be the closest after Raidman himself and Boxer. Um, because they've played each other last season on the worldwide map, I think in week 9, where Radu got a perfect score and Mr. Blue is very close to that as well. So they've been close in the past. Um, so yeah, it's just interesting with Mr. Blue's form dropping off slightly, and with Radu being on a 2-game win streak. I I wouldn't be surprised if Radu wins this. And he also definitely needs the points more than Mr. Blue, who's already secure in his playoff spot. With Radu down, I think it's in 8th with 14 points. So if Radu wins this game, he'll secure himself his place in Division 1 next season as well, which would be nice for him for the first time after he got relegated in Season 1. Um, Apart from those as well, we've got Kevin, who's always good for an upset against Giovanni. Um, Again, crucial game for Kevin. Not that important for Giovanni. Technically, yes, he could still be overtaken, so he probably wants to still put in a good performance here. But just one bonus point would be enough. So if he just puts in a good performance himself, he doesn't have to be too worried about what Kevin does. And yeah, Kevin's, as I said, always good for an upset, but he'll probably have to bring his best out if he really wants to get a win against Giovanni. And yeah, as we also mentioned before, Simi against Magyarn could be very exciting. They've played each other twice in the past, as both of them have been in Division 1 from the beginning. And it's currently 1-1 in those past matchups. But funnily enough, the loser of that game always had the worst score in the division. Um, and yeah, both of their total scores are better than their position in the table as well, with Simi having the 3rd highest and Magyarn the 6th highest. So it'd definitely be a shame if either of them were to get relegated this season.
Yeah, and with these matchups, we should be able to bring you a couple of them, so you'll be able to see exactly how it all plays out over the next few days as we cast those videos for you all, and you can see how the playoff race finishes up for Division 1. Well, let's shift over to Division 2 and your group, Calamity. And I know you practiced a lot. I think you said something like 117,
Yes.
120 something practice, many of them non-moving, to be fair. So don't get completely blown away by the amount of games, but didn't really pay off. He had a pretty rough week against Ice there. Him just edging you out in that matchup.
I don't want to talk about it, to be honest. Imagine you've got a task at work and you make something you're really proud of, and then your boss tells you it's shit and fires you. That's how I felt after that game. So yeah, I really only have myself to blame. It was a stupid mistake. There was no reason to do it. And if I had won, I would already be promoted. So just great. But yeah, other than that, Radox winning the important match against Seppo, which does mean that he's now safe from direct relegation. But with Teskotak also winning against Chicago, it means he's also not really in a position where he can directly save himself anymore. He'd need a perfect score in Kenya, and that's just not going to happen. But yeah, is at least in the relegation playoff for the 3rd season in a row. And yeah, Tolan Palace found his form back as well. A bit too late for him to really mount the challenge for the promotion spots, as he'll be on 22 points with his bye week next week, and you currently 4th place is on 23 already. But yeah, at least he can go and look towards next season with a bit of a better feeling than he had mid-season. And Verdok also picks up another win in the most important match of the season, of the week probably, against the Real Clyde in a close win with just 138 points separating the two, which obviously means Clyde picks up a bonus point as well. And yeah, that definitely puts both of them probably in a better position as well, with Chicago getting no points, same as me for that week.
Yeah, Raidman, it was a very rough day for the top players in this division. A lot of upsets.
Yes, definitely. The low score of Chicago is a little bit surprising. He barely gets 20k in Bolivia, which is a little bit outstanding. Radox, of course, last week's he's trying to do everything to stay in the Division 2, and he will probably do this like always. Weird Dog and Aistaro, very important wins for them. Now we have a very interesting fight for these first 4 places in the Division 2 because of that. Tall Impala, what I can say, too late, my friend, too late. If you will perform like this from the beginning of the season, we could meet in the Division 1. And Calamity, I saw your video about the Bolivia. Yeah, it was stupid mistake.
Yeah, I am aware.
A rough week all around, but definitely big wins for Radox down there at the bottom of the table. So he'll be a regular fixture in the relegation playoffs, but I wouldn't fancy anybody against him. He's got a perfect record so far, so I don't want to go up against him in a relegation fight. He likes those. So yeah, let's look at that table, and the losses for those top players means that there is everything to play for in this last week. There are 5 players competing for 4 spots, so one of them will miss out, but anybody could pretty much place anywhere on the table there. As you can see, Ice at 22 points, Calamity 25, so only a 3-point gap. It could come down to score differential. I have highlighted Verdoc's score in green for the sake that he is the only one of the 5 to have a perfect game. So he's got a little bit of an advantage in that case because perfect games decide ties before score differential. But his score differential is also the highest of any of them. So he is in a really good position to claim at least one of those spots for that. But yeah, Calamity, really, really tight there at the top, but also pretty interesting towards the bottom as well for those relegation playoff spots.
Yeah, at least the only way for me to fall out of the top 4 is if Ice gets a perfect game and Clyde manages to draw with him despite that, which would put both of them above me. But other than that, I should at least be in the promotion playoff, which then is another matter which I'm not too confident about, but it's something at least. And yeah, between the top 5 though, anyone can still get a direct promotion spot. And yeah, as you said, Verdok with the only perfect game has the advantage for any tiebreakers. So he's probably in the best position with not too difficult of a game in the last week as well to maybe snag that guaranteed promotion spot. And yeah, as I mentioned during the results, Teskotak is pretty much safe. And Radox will have his 3rd meeting with the relegation playoffs, unless Radox gets a perfect score, which he won't. And yeah, Seppo and Guelo Wizard will duke it out in next week.
Yeah, Raidman, anything from you here on this very competitive Division 2 table going into our last week?
Definitely, Division 2 is the most competitive division from all of these 5. Calamity, what I can say, from few weeks you are on the 1st position, you need one win and you lose 2 matches in a row. Chicago, Weird Dog have easier matches if I remember correctly, so they should pick up a win. So Calamity to have to not fight with for the promotion, you should win your match because only 1 bonus point could be not enough. I am Tall Impala and the Baseman are safe. They are playing for nothing this week. I hope that they will play as best as they can, and I think Seppo still has a chance. I think Seppo is playing with Guido Wizard, so we will have another very important match in this league, in this division.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So yeah, let's take a look at those matchups here in the final week. And yeah, for Tall Impala, it is already over. He's on his bye week in the last week, so his points won't change, nor his score differential. But he is pretty much safe from relegation or promotion. so he can sit back and enjoy the beautiful scenery in Kenya without worrying about anything affecting him too much. But yes, two really interesting matchups here. Definitely Calamity, you against M the Basement, and Chicago, the top two, facing off against players a little bit further down the table. But you know, it is Kenya, so
Yeah, and M the Basement is still a very competent player, unlike Radox. Just joking. But yeah, every match is at least important here for one of the players. Goela Wizard fighting against Seppo is probably the most important here, because the loser will be relegated basically straight away. Or actually, let me just quickly look at the table in the case that Goela Wizard picks up a bonus point and Seppo wins. In that case, Seppo would need about 1,700 points more than Goela Wizard, um, if he wants to stay in the relegation playoff at least. So they're both very close together still, and either side could secure themselves another chance here. Yeah, Radux himself has a game for fun against Chicago, who can secure his promotion with a win there. They've played each other before in the first ever week of Reddit League, where Chicago won a close game in Minnesota. And yeah, I do expect Chicago to win that game. Baseman will have an opportunity for revenge after I beat him on the worldwide map last season, which foiled his early promotion, though it won't make a difference for him in the table either. Yeah, Murdoch has a seemingly easier game against Teskotak here, but we said the same thing about Chicago last week as well, before he was beaten. Difference is Teskotak now no longer has anything to play for, so maybe his performance will drop a bit because of that. And yeah, Clyde and Ice play against each other for who can get another chance for promotion as well. The chances for either of them finishing top 2 aren't the best, but a win here at least guarantees top 4. And it probably means if I lose, the winner of that game will probably be who I'll be up against in the promotion decider.
yes, indeed. Raidman, anything from you here on these Division 2 matchups?
As I said, two very important matches: Aistaru versus the Real Clyde or Cameron, and Seppo with Guilo Wizard. There are two the most important matches this week, in my opinion. And this is all what I can say about this league, because Calamity, if he will back to the win road, he will be in the first division. Werdog will try to do everything to get to the direct promotion spot, and Chicago must defend from him.
Indeed. So very interesting week. And I bring you with the players recording their games. Of course, Calamity and M the Basement among those. So definitely keep an eye out for days. So back to our last division, still in the regular season, Division 3, and their results. Yeah, Shumi had enjoyed it with only 11,718 points, but his preliminary lap for him there. Anything else stand out to you here, Raidman?
I think a little upset, maybe. Benika won with closed, and Max 5 with a very good score. I think I played all of the challenges from all of the division in Bolivia, and this seat was a little bit hard. They're definitely harder than the Division one seat, to be honest. And USA Derby Patriots get 3 points. 3 points, or is it a draw? No, it's a draw between him and Skydiving Parrots. Sorry, I am just blind to today. And Fios gets a very important win with Hugo. So I think that's it. And Shumi, of course, low score, but he has his bye week, and he's sure that he will play next season in the Division 2. So I am not surprised about that. And this yellow card for Red Direct, or whatever I should call this nick, against Demfrey Clesto, easy win for him.
Yeah, a bit of an unfortunate there. Redect missing his playing time. Other than that, though, shouldn't really affect him too much as he only got one more week to go for that. But yeah, Calamity, yeah, definitely a big win for Benica there against Close, which cost him a few points.
Yeah, definitely. Probably more so important for Closed than it is for Benica, who's already been in a pretty decent position, but still, he'll take the points. It definitely puts him in a position where, unless Redirect gets a red card, which I'll come to when we talk about the table, but unless that happens, he's now safe from relegation, and he can be preparing for Division 3 again next season. Yeah, we mentioned Patriots and Ferret's draw, which I think both people will be happy with. The 2 points put Patriots a bit higher up in the table, especially as his opponent Closed here didn't manage to get any points. Opponent for promotion, I mean. And yeah, great performance from Max and Fios. Both of them not the most consistent players, but Max especially has been in very good form recently, as he's picked up 13 points in his last 5 games. And yeah, as we said, Shumi's been slacking a bit this week, only picking up 11k. But yeah, it was his bye week and he'd already secured promotion, so it's not too important for him.
Definitely, indeed. Well, let's see what this results do to the table. And there isn't a whole lot of movement. Close with that loss drops down into fourth. But as of right now, at least, still in that promotion playoff spot. Red Act also with his yellow card drops down and switches places with Theos in 8th place now. So that win does boost him up out of the relegation for at least this week. But it is very close, only 3 points separating Hugo from Theos, and only Skydiving Ferret only 1 more point away. But this this division is definitely cut down the middle. Skydiving Ferret, even if he's able to pick up a win here, will only be at 18 points. And the best he can probably do is try to have a tiebreaker with Benica. But on the other side of that, the top 6, there is only 3 points separating Benica from Dem Freckles. So lots to play for, of course, in this week with only Patriots at 22. So besides Shumi, who's definitely getting promoted, everybody is definitely competing for something in this final week, Raidman.
Yes, at least 5 people have still chances to get to the promotion fight, if I see correctly. And 5 people have to fight to not fight for the relegation. So still a lot of changes can be done here. I hope that Redict will play his challenge this week, and he will not forget about it, because the changes in the table can be massive because of that. I think that's all from my side. I am waiting for the 5 final results in this division, because everything can happen there.
Definitely. Yeah, Calamity, you mentioned a little bit. If Reddock gets a red card, he's got 3 wins. Who does he have wins against? Because everybody else won't move, but 3 people will.
Well, one of the wins is against Slovak, so we can discount that. But
Okay.
the other 2 are against Hugo and Omkar, which means that Hugo would gain 2 points because he actually picked up a bonus point in that week, and Omkar would get 3, which actually doesn't do too much in the table. It would bump Omkar up a bit, but it would still be just as close as it was before. The only thing that would really matter is that then the direct relegation spot would disappear. But also you have to remember that Omkar, I think it is, who has his bye week next week. So if he would get those 3 additional points, that would actually already secure him his place in Division 3 for next season. And it would also put Ferret in a pretty precarious situation, as he'd drop down all the way to 9th place, because coincidentally, Redirect plays Fierce next week. So he'd also get an additional 3 points for free. And yeah, that would just be all over the place pretty much. And it would also still, actually, interestingly enough, puts Benica in a precarious situation as well. Because at that point, if all of that were to happen just like that, it would mean, actually no, it doesn't. I kind of missed that in my preparation. Yes, it puts Fierce up to 17, but that already includes next week. So he's safe from Fierce, so he's definitely safe. So he can focus on the promotion fights alone, which he still has a chance. He's 3 points behind Freckles and Close, though Freckles has a perfect game, so he's unlikely to pass him. But Close has said before that he didn't have too much and still doesn't have too much time to practice for these last weeks. So if he loses against Hugo, then Benica is definitely still in there with a chance, but it would have to be quite a bad loss, as the score difference is so far apart between the two of them. Either that or a perfect game from Benica. That would also do the trick. But yeah, apart from that, you said it, bottom of the table is still very close. If Redirect does play, then you've got a few people who are still very much in the fight there. As I already sort of spoiled a bit for the schedule, he's playing against Redirect. He's playing against Fios, sorry, next week. So that's an interesting game. And yeah, you said it as well at the top. Still lots to play for. 5 people fighting for promotion. And yeah, all comes down to 1 week, as it did in Division 2.
Mhm. Yes, that's what we want. We want tight matches and every week mattering. We don't want everything decided with a week to go. So let's move and look at those actual matchups now in place. And Benica, yeah, definitely has a tough matchup coming, but he does have his fate in his own hands, so to speak, playing Patriots FTW for that one. Yes, and Omkar on his bye week. Any of these matches you're particularly interested in, Raidman?
I will definitely be. I think that Max FI and Skydiving Ferret is a very important match and will be very, very interesting, because they are fighting for 2 different goals. Skydiving Ferret will do everything to stay in the league, and if he loses this game, he will have a very big problems. Max FI is still fighting for promotion. So if he will win, he will get a very good position to get to the Division 2. Second match, which can be interesting, is Shumi versus Freckles. Number 1 and number 2 in the table, or number 3, I don't remember. But still one of the best players playing against each other. Shumi is sure about the division that he will play next season in the Division 2. But Freckles has to win to be sure to at least fight for promotion to Division 2. The rest about the Reddit, I think Calamityx says all that. We will see if he will play, because if he will get a red card, we will have a lot of movements down on the table.
Yeah, Calamity, any further thoughts on Division 3 matchups here?
Yeah, as I've said before, lots of the matches here are between sort of top and bottom. Not a lot of I think I've missed saying that in my notes for the table earlier, but none of the like from 2nd to 5th play each other this week. So a lot will just depend on how the other matches go, and you yourself can't really do much more than win and then hope. Fierce's chances against Redirect for keeping himself in the division at least aren't bad. while Ferret has to play against Max, which is probably not the matchup you want if you need some points to secure yourself your place in the division again for next season. Max has had some weak showings, but as I said before, his recent form has been great. And so getting a win for Ferret isn't going to be easy, but he has shown great performances as well. For example, with his last week's win in Bolivia, in Bolivia against Patriots. And for his purposes, one bonus point would be enough to secure his place, always as long as redirect doesn't get disqualified. And yeah, if Shumi's performance from last week is anything to go by when predicting how he plays without pressure or without anything on the line, then this should be an easy win for Freckles. But yeah, I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting him to play at least decently again. Maybe he won't put in as much practice as he has previously, but I don't expect to see another 11,000 points there. And yeah, Patriots enclosed have to face off against Benica and Hugo, respectively, which for Hugo is his last chance of saving himself from relegation. And even in the best case scenario, he'll still have to go through the playoffs. And even before that, he's dependent on the fierce redirect results. But yeah, he can't do anything more than try to win his game and hope the other results allow him to have another chance in the playoff.
Yeah, so very interesting matchups there for that final week in Division 3 as well. And of course, we'll hope to bring you as many of those as we can. Well, that does it for the regular season. Of course, because Division 4 and 5 have only 10 players, we are jumping into the playoffs, and there are for Division 4, there's only the promotion playoffs to worry about because of all the red cards in Division 4A. In Division 5, there's both promotion and relegation. So let's just get right into those. Division 4 promotion battles here. And yeah, Calamity being second in the division, missing out on that automatic promotion spot, didn't seem to serve them too well here as third places pick up the victories.
Yeah, that's certainly true. It was pretty close between them in the regular season, so I don't think being second or third made too much of a difference there. And I don't think the second place people can feel hard done by having to play against someone who did worse than them in the regular season. But yeah, there were pretty clear-cut matches, quite dominant. Two very similar games actually from LCN and Steel the Snake, who both sort of guessed in equally wrong places in the few rounds where they did drop some points. Nakiro and Hedigme, however, couldn't really make use of those drop points, as both of them could only win a single out of the 5 rounds against their opponents. And, their hiccup in round 1 is understandable. It was sort of a location in the outskirts of Sucre, even with all of my practice games I'd never seen before. And there wasn't any information at all close by, so you really had to go one direction for the whole time to make it somewhere. But yeah, round 3 kind of shows a clear lack of enough practice, as that is actually an area that shows up quite a lot and is sufficiently distinct from where both of them guessed. But yeah, in the end, you can say that with such a big gap, the wins were definitely deserved for Steel the Snake and LCN. And yeah, I'm excited to see if the final of the playoff will be as close as the two of them were in Bolivia.
Yeah, and as we'll see as we get into Division 5, there was a repeat of Division 5's Bolivia seed. So if these players practiced, which I don't think any of them actually did.
Nakiro was the only one who
Oh, that's right. Nakiro did, yeah. And he did get a very good score in that one round. But other than that, it didn't seem to really come into play here. Didn't help him pick up the victory. Yeah. Anything from you here, Raidman, on the result? Or I know you play the other division seeds as well. So any comments on the seed is also welcome.
As Calamity said, the round 1 in this seed was hell. I didn't find anything at all in my whole time when I was playing this round, and I have a really, really bad score there. But to be honest, I am a little bit surprised that Nakiro lost with LCN. I predicted that Nakiro and Stealth will meet in the final of the promotion. Stealth won with Hedigme. Two pretty obvious results with a lot of difference between the players. And I am looking forward to see who will win the final in the map of Kenya.
Yeah, so let's take a look at that matchup. Our promotion final for that third slot into Division 3 between Steal This Nick and LCN. It is nice that there is one from each of the groups in Division 4, LCN from 4A and Steal This Nick from 4B. So that's pretty nicely evened out. But yeah, really, really tough to call here. Steal This Nick definitely bouncing back after a bit of bad run of form to finish the regular season in his semifinal matchup. But yeah, LCN though pretty much has been pretty constantly good throughout the entire season. Is there anybody you in particularly favor here, Calamity, in this final?
Not really. They've both had a similar total score over the course of the season. We sort of eliminated the positive and the negative outliers in the semifinal. Um, and yeah, we'll talk a bit more about Kenya later, but I don't think it's really comparable to any other country we've had this season. So we're going into this one blind since, well, it's also the first season for both of them. So we don't really have much data to look at. So I think it'll mostly come down to who has the better nerves and can keep their calm in such an important match.
Indeed, yeah. Raidman, can you pick a favorite here, or?
Definitely, that will be a tight match. I think a little small advantage has a stealth the snake. For me, he should be this one who win, but this is only my personal thought.
Indeed. Well, I think I'd have to root for my fellow 4B member here just to say that our division got 2 of the promotion slots. That would be nice for that one. But yeah, I think it's going to be really close to call. And best of luck to both of the players in their final matchup and see if they can get into Division 3 with that one. Well, then the other promotion battle we had to worry about was from Division 5 up into trying to get into Division 4 slots. And yeah, overall, not that great of games from any of them here, Calamity.
Yeah, you thought I was slacking off or slagging off. I don't quite remember what the right word is. But the players in the Division 4 playoff for not too great performances, but oh boy. Um none of those 4 made it into the top 10 of the seed, and so they definitely left enough points on the table to afford a mistake or two. And in the end, Hexalt performed the best with only 1 mistake. Danny Blonde made 2, the same as Jake Lyons, and Hexalt, and not Hexalt, Geoguessr had 3 mistakes in there, which was quite surprising to me because I thought Division 5 was, after Division 1, by far the easiest seed. Which I showed with I think it was 24,986 points. Yeah, and you know, round 3 was the round where most people had problems, which is to me probably the most recognizable area in Bolivia. I can see where the problems might come from, as it's a not too long stretch of road in the mountains that's cut off from any of the regular coverage. But even without knowing that, there's still enough enough information to find it. Although again, I can see why it might be difficult to find if you don't know where to look. Joguer made a very odd mistake as well in round 4, where he guessed in Alto, despite literally spawning in front of a sign that said La Paz on it. Which makes me question, never mind practicing enough, but if Joguer even practiced at all. Either that, where he didn't know El Alto and La Paz are 2 completely different cities, or he just was maybe too nervous and just went into the game and straight away just went into one direction without paying much attention to the sign. But even then, El Alto and La Paz are so different in terms of how they look landscape-wise, that I can't imagine he had practiced all that much if he got that one wrong. And both Joguer and Danny Blonde lost a lot of points in round 5 as well, which is the most common location on the map, which again just goes back to the practicing. And it's not only the easiest location to find. If you have played the map a couple of times, you'll probably have had it. And it's not the most giving in terms of information right at the start, but either direction should still provide you enough. Especially if you've got 5 minutes, as they did. Funnily enough, it was also a duplicate from the Division 4 seed, as we've mentioned before, which coincidentally only Hexalt and Jake Lyons played. So there's that. And yeah, Geoguessr and Jake Lyons also dropped a lot of points in another very easy location in round 1 that I can see how going the wrong way there might not provide that much good information. I didn't go that way, so I can't say for sure though. And yeah, I also wanted to mention Geoguessr actually, I think it was Geoguessr, got a bit unlucky with one of the rounds where I think it was actually the one I mentioned at the intersection that was the duplicate location or the repeat location, where there is a sign for a town that doesn't show up on the map where it is, and it's not even really a town. I think there's no houses there. It's just a sign that looks like a city sign. And I think he actually found that somewhere else in
Wow.
Bolivia. And if you really stop and think about it, because it was somewhere in the mountains, and it definitely couldn't have fit both in the way the road looked and the way the landscape looked. But if you're nervous, it's an important game. You've already made mistakes in the previous rounds. Maybe that explains why you just see the town name and you're like, okay, it has to be here somewhere. And maybe if you then don't find like an appropriate road, you might think, okay, I'll put it where the town name is then, and maybe I'll just get close enough in the general vicinity. Yeah. But with games like that, I think it'll do both of them well to play another season in Division 5 and sort of get more comfortable, more accustomed to it, and then come back stronger next season to maybe secure themselves promotion at that time.
Yeah, what was really interesting was in both Division 4 and Division 5, we had really diverse locations, very dry parts in mountainous regions, as well as the more like tropical, almost jungle areas, as well as both of them having a location in La Paz. So definitely a good kind of selection of what Bolivia had to offer. And if you practiced even a few games, like you mentioned, those unique regions all become very noticeable, and you can kind of use that to help you with your pinpointing quite a bit for that. So yeah, definitely don't underestimate the power of practice, especially on those country maps, and even playing the other seeds, because hey, there could be a repeat. It happened a lot towards the end of this season here. So definitely something to remember going into next year for this one. But yeah, so that means it is Hexalt and Jay Lyons, both from Division 5A, who get to fight for that promotion slot. Division 5B missing out on that from them. But yeah, Raidman, do you favor either one of these two here?
No, I think all of the scores are possible, and both of them deserve to be in the Division 4. Kenya is unpredictable, so everything can happen there.
Yeah, Calamity, any bold predictions you want to make, or?
I agree with Raidman on that. Really, anything could happen here. I think Hexalt has been a bit more consistent over the season. Jake Lyon has made some errors here and there, but yeah, it could really go either way. I wouldn't be surprised with the outcome, no matter what happens.
Yeah, literally, I think they were within 1,000 points total score after 9 weeks, and they also were tied on points. So very, very close in almost every measure that you would try to use to separate these two. So anybody's game, and best of luck to them both getting to Division 4. While the scores might not have been that great in the promotion battle, at least Calamity, they played. We had a red card and a yellow card in the relegation spots for Division 5, which means that essentially the matches decided themselves.
Yes.
For this one.
And I also quickly just want to add on, I forgot about that earlier, that Jake Lyons and Hexalt, obviously, because they're in the same division, they've already played each other once this season, in week 1, actually, at the start, where Jake Lyons won by like 3,000 points in Uruguay. But I don't think that's too much of a, I don't think that's too much, that has too much importance going into this one, because for both of them, it was their first game in Reddit League. Uruguay is also not that similar to Kenya. So I don't think that will be too telling in that sense. But yeah, as you said, the relegation playoffs decided themselves. Zenit got herself disqualified, which also means that Jack Hertzberg's non-appearance will not matter because his his in theory final against Zenit won't need to be played either because, well, she's disqualified. So Jack Hertzberg stays in Division 5 for another season. And yeah, Papagato and Laban Grab. I think probably if you compare it to the performances from the promotion playoff, Laban Grab would have probably been in a decent position anyway. Papagato could have been close against Zenit, but yeah, we'll never find out.
Levon Greb did play the Division 4 seed, so he did put in a bit of practice there and did help him boost his score over 20,000 for that matchup. You did say that he is guaranteed his spot. In this case, in the relegation playoffs, you want to win not because you get to advance, but because you don't have to play anymore. That's kind of the point of the relegation, right? So the final would have been Jack versus Zenit, but with her disqualification, Jack picks up an automatic win. But sticking by the rules here, he's got to at least put in a score, because if he gets red carded now that he's on a yellow, he could be out next season.
I don't think he actually.
Are they going to make him play?
I don't think he has. Schmingo didn't mention it in the post on Reddit, so I don't think he has to. Okay. I thought the same with you actually. I thought he should have had to play, but well, whatever.
Yeah, to be honest, I was curious about that rule too, because if he does not play, so technically he will get another red card.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I read the Reddit post, and there was a mention of him not having to play. It was basically mute because his opponent was disqualified. So I'm not sure. We might have to get a kind of last minute add-on here to see if we can get a word from the organizers.
I mean, I'll speak with Schmingo, but I think at this point, it wouldn't be fair to change it anymore because it's already been out for a day or two. So and it already said Jack doesn't have to play. So
yes, it does say Jack stays in Division 5 without having to worry about requalifying. So
I will ask him about his thought process though, because we have seen someone, not playing against a red carded player and getting himself disqualified in the season.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely check in with him on that.
Very nice. Well, other than that, that pretty much wraps it up for all of our matchups. Down to promotion finals in Division 5 and 4, and everybody finishing up the regular season in Divisions 1 through 3. Definitely lots of excitement going on. Don't want to miss any of that in the coming week. And as always, let's finish up with the map. And as we've been talking about throughout the entire evening, it is Kenya. Author Amazing Keller. Average score 16,347 with over 10,000 locations. So pretty good indication it's a polygon map. He just outlined Kenya. Hasn't been played too many times, only about 111. I wonder how many of those are Calamity practicing, and has only 6 likes.
Not too many.
Funny little comment by the author here. Kenya get a good score? Maybe, maybe not. So Raidman, I'll give you first crack at this. Your thoughts on Kenya as a map for us here?
Kenya is unpredictable. You can get an urban location, and then you will be placed in the middle of nowhere in the national park, and you don't have any clue where you are. So definitely very interesting map, and I think that is the best map for the end of the regular season that we could have there, maybe except Cambodia.
Yeah, Calamity.
We can.
Sorry.
We cannot predict how we will play this map, how good we will perform, because it will be Very important how what seat and what locations we will have.
Mhm. Good. Yeah, Calamity. Are you going to put in as much practice on this one as you did in Bolivia, or?
No, for a couple of reasons. I did practice a bit, but it's landscape-wise, it's way less distinctive than Bolivia is. A lot of it just looks very similar. You do still have differences in certain regions, but it's much less. This road looks like this, and it's more like this quarter of Kenya looks like this, and this quarter of it looks like that.
Mm.
So it's way less interesting to play non-moving. And as Raidman already said, location-wise, it's going to be very interesting with the seeds. My first 4 practice scores in Kenya, where I started off with 13K, then 18K, 17K, and then I got a perfect score. So it's completely up in the air. It could be anything we get. There's a few things that can help you in Kenya. You can learn area codes. They're very easy to learn generally. You just find them relatively little. Probably makes sense to remember that Nairobi is 20. But apart from that, yeah, you don't find them often enough for it to be really worth it. But again, as I said, it's not like there's 4 different general regions with the area codes. So it's not going to take more than like 2 minutes out of your day to learn them. Um, Very important are the counties. Those are probably the things you'll find the most on signs that will actually help you get closer. And Kenya has a lot of counties, but generally, whichever county it is, you'll find it after map scrolling for like 45 seconds a minute. It helps if you know where the counties are if you find a sign very late on, but generally it shouldn't be too big of a deal if you have to look for it for a bit. Also, quite a few of them are named after the big city. Kisumu County, for example. I think Nairobi's county is named after it as well, same as Mombasa. So a lot of them are self-explanatory.
Mm.
What you also can take a look at is the Google cars. Uh, they've got 2 Google cars in Kenya. One's silver, one's black. Um, they aren't as clear cut as as you would hope. There's some distinctions you can make. If it's a black car, it's not in the western part of Kenya. If it can, if it's a silver car, it's not in the one road that leads north into the nowhere in Kenya. Um, and then you've got one more road that's only a black car that sort of combines Nairobi and Mombasa. And then you've got the beach sort of in Mombasa, north and south there, which is only a silver car. But apart from that, the cars are kind of just, especially in the area east of Nairobi, they're pretty much interchangeable. And it's not going to tell you too much about where exactly it is. It might just help you eliminate a couple of locations. Yeah, as I said before already, the landscape's not too different. It helps if you have a general feel of which sort of side you might be in, but I'd be surprised if you can tell apart where exactly in the middle of nowhere in Kenya you are, if it's not a main road as well. And yeah, as Raidman mentioned a bit, there's quite a few national parks as well. I think at least 5 or 6 or so, that are all over Kenya. So probably taking a look at them wouldn't hurt either.
Are the cars different for the national parks? Or are they just one of the black or silver cars from the
There's one.
area?
There's Well, they are different in a sense. They're different in what you can see. There's one that's specifically different. It's sort of a white truck that's more in like the middle. There's 2 specific spots actually where it is, sort of north of Nairobi in the national park there. And all the others have kind of a similar car that looks a bit like the other, like the black car, I think specifically.
Mm.
But you could just see parts of it slightly differently, or the snorkel, as it's called, is in a slightly different position, something like
Yeah.
that. So you can't technically tell them apart from like the main coverage. I don't actually think they're that different from each other, though. So I'm not sure how much that might help you.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where like the cars for Kenya are helpful in the sense of a world map, but if you already know you're in Kenya, a lot of the clues that help me figure out what country we're in doesn't really help you. So
Mm.
what part of Kenya we might be in is going to be a bit rough. Yeah, coverage is limited though, kind of down to that southern part of the country. That's something you can count on a little bit. You don't have to look up most of the desert area to the north and to the east, but yeah, it's very up for grabs. I definitely find rounds where I'm like, oh, I know exactly where this is, where then the next round is completely clueless. I'm trying to remember. I'm stuttering as I speak here. Is Kenya the one who doesn't drive on the left-hand side, or
Kenya drives on the left.
okay,
Yep.
never mind. Yeah, that's one of them I still have to work on. most of those former British republics do drive on the left.
It's very
But
easy
mostly,
in Africa actually, because if you can just draw a line between like sort of the Gulf of Guinea and towards Saudi Arabia, and everything that's below that line drives on the left, and everything that's above it drives on the right.
oh, there you go. But Nigeria is pretty easy to spot as well as Senegal, so I don't know how helpful that might actually be. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, definitely an interesting country to pick as our Africa map here for Reddit League, and the final week of the regular season could mean definitely upsets possible with this one. Get a really rough seed, anybody's guess is as good as somebody else's. Or if you get a pretty obvious seed, it could be looking at quite a few more 25Ks here to finish off the season. And it's a bunch of aces as well to go along with that. So, well, thank you all for listening and hanging out with us for the last hour or so, chatting about Reddit League and how we're finishing up this regular season. Definitely, if you like this sort of content and want to see the matchups that we have coming for you in the next couple of days, hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss anything. And we'll see you there. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.